It looks great, Alan. How do you get to scale with this?
Well, I think there are several ways. We're already thinking about expanding to some other locations, and we've got a number of very promising partners to work with, including the possibility of working through a journalism school, and I would welcome talking to a number of you about that as well. We've got a neighborhood redevelopment corporation in organization in Chicago that's interested in partnering with us, already in middle schools. We also are looking to do more things with, obviously, with new media and with video to build on this very rich experience in the classroom. I mean, there's a limit to how much time you can ask from the journalists, and then there is also a limit to how many places you can go to get journalists of this caliber. So we're looking to create video. We're looking to put curriculum online. And the nice thing about the way we've structured the program is it's quite flexible. So you can do sort of the full-scale 2-week unit and have, we've had as many as 3 different journalists coming in to talk to one class. Or you could have teachers using, an activity, the basic grounding, bring journalists in, through video or through video conferencing, or even showing video and then having them on a conference call. So we're still developing the model, but our planned expectation is to expand it fairly rapidly once we, get the bugs out of the pilot, improve on the curriculum, and continue to enroll journalists all over the country.
Byron Yake, AP and Right on Sports. I'm curious what outcomes you're looking for and how you're going to measure and determine that.
Sure. Well, at a very basic level, we want students to understand key terms and concepts. First of all, the notion, to pick up on Howie's notion about what neighborhood you're in, understand the difference between news and opinion and gossip, raw information, propaganda. And then in terms of things that purport to be news, to be able to assess the credibility. So one of the things we focus on a great deal is sources, the nature of the sources. One of the teachers already developed an activity with us looking at deconstructing the news story based on the different sources and the documentation, issues of elemental fairness, of bias. So we want them to understand those concepts, and then we're looking for them to also be more frequent consumers and creators of credible information themselves. And in terms of measuring this, we have already been getting feedback. We've developed a questionnaire that we provide to the students and to the teachers to get their feedback. Tomorrow, a teacher in Bethesda will be giving the first quiz on the basic terms and concepts to students that he's developed along with us. We anticipate that we're going to help start new media in some of the schools, a newspaper, a website, video. And then we have a concluding exercise. We also want, beyond the quiz, we want what's called performance-based assessment as well, what the students are doing. So a number of our activities, whether it's a mock press conference, doing an oral history, get the students creating, actually doing journalism to learn news literacy. So we'll have that as another form. And then we've got this closing exercise. We've asked to play off the song and have the students do their own song, their own rap, their own video, cartoon, essay about just what it is they've learned. And I think that will be another good assessment. Eventually, we may get to the point, I think our hope is that we'll do some kind of questionnaire survey work in advance before we start the unit to see what the state of knowledge, the attitudes, the consumption habits are, and then go back in subsequently.
I'm John Landman from the Times. Curious about how much of your energy you plan to focus on teachers, who I suspect are not necessarily much more sophisticated about this stuff than their students in many cases.
Well, we've seen, very quickly, this is a huge benefit in terms of educating the teachers, for whom, this material, which they really have embraced, is new ground for them. I mean, just giving them the elements of journalism, having them look at that, the definitions, and so on. And then, they're clearly learning a great deal from the journalists. And it's something that we're going to leave with those teachers, because we won't necessarily be in their classroom as we try to reach a broader range of students and teachers. And our hope is that the teachers will continue to incorporate elements of the program and things that they've learned long after we're gone.
Hi, David Bindich. Could you talk about some of the other programs around the country? I know that there's is it the Student Voices project at Annenberg in University of Pennsylvania that does similar stuff, and how yours is different and similar?
Well, my sense is that others do things that get students involved in doing journalism and creating journalistic products, and whether in class or after school. I think that we're different because we're going into the classroom. We deliberately chose not to go into journalism classes because those students presumably get it. They're most likely to be consuming and creating. So we're going to English and social studies and history classes to reach a broader range of students. We're also different in that we're not replacing any existing curriculum. We're integrating what we're doing into the existing curriculum and trying to accommodate the subject matter and the focus of the teachers. So if it's a history teacher or government teacher and they're doing politics or foreign policy, we can bring in journalists who covered the Obama campaign or the Obama administration or have worked in foreign postings. We have a teacher now, an English teacher in Manhattan, who's doing the Kite Runner, teaching the Kite Runner. And we've got a producer coming in, I believe today actually, from 60 Minutes, who's reported from Afghanistan and can talk about that. So that's something that's different. And I think just in terms of, I don't believe anybody's ever made such a concerted effort to engage journalists this way across the country to play this role. I think it's been more, in individual programs or career day, but we're really working to train them and integrate them with the teachers, with the curriculum to provide, for outcomes that really are demonstrable.
Okay, let me just make a comment. And one of the reasons we're here is to talk about collaboration. So Alan and I have been talking a lot, and he happens to be on our board at the center, and I'm on his board. So one of the things and talking about scaling up, which is Andrew's question, how do you get this to 100,000 students? You can't get a journalist in every classroom. Or John's question, what do you do about the teachers? One way to collaborate would be that if we, through the center, and you all develop high school curriculum materials, and we've done this a little bit, and then high school teachers are trained, John, to teach news literacy. And when they teach news literacy, any high school teacher in the country teaching news literacy would have access to Alan's database of journalists in that area of the country who are willing to come into his class or her class and create a value-added experience. So Alan's project can stand alone. It can be an a la carte program for schools that do not want to teach a whole course, but even drop-in modules that are developed by high school teachers, if we coordinate with Alan, all of those teachers would have access to these value-added materials. Either a live journalist or some of the videos that Alan has produced could be built into high school courses around the country.